Hi, this is Craig Stocks here for Utah Desert Remote Observatories. You can find us online at utahdesertremote.com. And has this ever happened to you? You have WBPP all set up with some data that you've captured. In this case, it was M51. And you can see in WBPP I have HA, blue, green, luminosity, and red. So I have LRGB plus HA. And run through WBPP, and when it's done, I look at the output file and I have LRGB but no HA. You may have noticed watching the process monitor that the HA didn't register and you didn't get any of the 8 frames that I had here, or 9 frames actually. So what I'm going to do today is show you a couple different ways you might be able to get the data to work okay. And we'll be doing that in PixInsight. So the problem that you can run into, and I've run into this a few times with LRGB plus HA, the HA signal just isn't as strong, and generally the stars are smaller. Sometimes there's just not very many stars. There can be a variety of reasons, but typically what happens is that WBPP has chosen a reference frame to match all of the frames to, and for some reason the HA data just didn't work well with that reference frame. So a couple things you can try. First thing I typically do, and let me go ahead and close WBPP. The first thing to do is go back and look at the HA data again, just to make sure that you do have good data. So to do that, I'm going to go to Process, Image Inspection, and Blink. And rather than blinking the original data, this time I'm going to go to the intermediate output from WBPP. So now I'm in my swap files folder, and this is my M51 data. And I know there's no HA in registered, or at least there wasn't. So I'll go to the calibrated, and we do have calibrated HA data. Excuse me. And so we have calibrated data, but it's not good. And I must be in the wrong folder here. There we go. No, still in the wrong place. So here's our HA. Here we go. So these are the HA files that we're trying to process through WBPP. So I'm just opening those into Blink so I can look at them and make sure that they are all reasonably good. The data's not great, but not terrible. So a couple things you can try. If there had been any bad frames in here or something that was really bad, I would go ahead and take that out and start over. The first thing that I would typically try would be to run just the HA by itself. And to do that, so let's go back to WBPP. And you can do these steps manually, but it's easier to just do it with WBPP. So I'm going to go to Script, Batch Processing, Weighted Batch Preprocessing. And the first thing I want to do is try just running the HA by itself, not with the reference frame that was used for the rest of it. Now that doesn't mean it will have to manually register it, but that would at least get us going. So I'm going to just reset WBPP here. And to start with, I'm going to go to the lights and plus lights, and I'm going to load these calibrated. There's no reason to recalibrate them again, so I'll just pick up kind of where we left off with the calibrated HA. But this time I'm going to let WBPP automatically choose the calibration frame. And I've had this work reasonably well most of the time when this has happened. In this case, it didn't work. It still wouldn't register. So my next step was to manually choose whatever I felt was the best frame. And when I went through Blink, I found what I thought was the best frame. And so to do that, I would change the registration reference image from auto to manual, and then navigate to here in this image 545 was the one that I thought was the best frame. So I could select that as the registration frame and try executing again, and it still failed. Now this time one of the frames registered, but that you still need at least 3 in order to do an integration. So that didn't work either. So the next step, and this is what finally did work, was to open an image container so that we can run Blur Exterminator in correct only mode. And to do that, what I'm going to do, this is an image container, or the tool to create an image container, and you can get to that by just right-clicking in the background and choose Image Container. And normally I use it with the views that are already open. In this case, we actually want to run files through the image container. So I'll click on the plus files or add files icon, and we'll navigate to the folder that had the calibrated HA. So these 9 files, click open. And then in this case, I'm going to create an output directory. And so I'll click on the folder icon here, and I created a folder called calibrated_bxt, select folder. And so that's where this process or image container is going to save the output from whatever I run through it. And then for output hints, you can put XISF just to let it know you want it to store it as a XISF file, which is the PixInsight's native format. Then I can run Blur Exterminator in correct only mode, and I can do that by just dragging the triangle from this image container over to the Blur Exterminator process icon, and that will run through, and it will run Blur Exterminator in correct only mode on each one of these files and save the output in this output directory. Once it's done that, now I can go back to WBPP, and this time what we want to do is run WBPP against those new, improved, cleaned up files. So I'll go to lights and just clear it, and go to plus lights, and this time we're going to go to the calibrated folder. These are the HA files that have been processed through Blur Exterminator in correct only mode. So those 9 files were added. We can either, in this case I still kept the manual, and we'll choose the 545, there it is. So we'll force it to use that as the calibration frame. Run this, and this worked. And this time all of these files registered and integrated. That then lets me open my LRGB plus HA files. So from the master, here's my LRGB. And then I ran HA in a separate folder. So I had a separate M51 HA folder. So here's my master. Here's my master HA. Now we can process this as normal. Just very quickly, what I would do is start by creating an RGB image. So I would grab the red. And you can just grab that name tag over on the left. Green and blue. Press the red circle to create an RGB image. And I'm done with the green and blue, but I'm going to keep the red for continuum subtraction. And typically what I've been doing is just tile the windows and then do a quick stretch to see what we're dealing with. And from this point on, it's pretty straightforward. I would run Graxpert against all of these frames, spectrophotometric color calibration on the RGB, remove the stars, blur exterminator, noise exterminator, and save the stretched images as TIFF files, which I can then open in Photoshop. And this is the finished image in Photoshop. Just to show you what's here, we have the stars layer group. We have some global adjustments that don't do a whole lot. This is the hydrogen alpha, and you can see the difference that it made by rescuing that HA data. And then I have the RGB data, which is in color blending mode, and the luminosity data in just normal pass-through blending mode. So put those all together, and you have an image in LRGB plus hydrogen alpha. Just to dig into the hydrogen alpha a little bit, you'll see, let's turn off everything else, and I'm going to disable the mask and turn off the... So what do we have here? So here is our HA data with the stars removed. Remember I said I kept the red image, and what I wanted to do with the red image is use it for continuum subtraction, because this HA image has a lot of contamination from the normal red component of white light. So by subtracting that, initially it kind of subtracts too much, so I have a levels adjustment clipped to just the layer that we're subtracting so that I can fine-tune the subtraction brightness. And typically what I find is I will move this center slider from the center to the right, and then I'll move the bottom blacks slider from its normal position over. And what I'm trying to find is that point where we eliminate everything except the HA signal. In this case, there was also quite a bit of HA data in the stars that were removed from the HA. So I add those back in, and I might even reduce the brightness of those a little. And then an overall hue or levels adjustment. And then finally, hue saturation in colorize mode at 50% lightness and 100% saturation to add the color. And then this layer is in screen blending mode. There is some other garbage around the edges, so I just used a mask to hide that, so that all we have is the area where we actually want it. Make sure you have the whole area around that, and then turn the rest of the layers back on, and there's our LRGB plus HA image. So hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, be sure to drop those in the comments down below. And as always, I hope you have a great day today and an even better night tonight under a clear, dark sky. Thanks.